The battle had ended, but the hive did not sleep. Smoke lingered in the tunnels, and the soft glow of crystals revealed the scars of the fight. Elena moved carefully among the injured, carrying the larva close. She had never seen such destruction, and yet she had also never seen such courage. The hive had survived because it had listened, even if only in part, to a human's guidance. The queen sat atop her throne, wings folded, her massive body tense. Her eyes scanned the hive. Soldiers and workers alike moved cautiously, aware of their queen's thoughts. The creatures respected power, but the queen was silent, lost in reflection. Elena approached slowly, careful not to show fear. The larva nestled against her chest, still calling her mother. It was a sound that had changed the queen's perspective, a sound she could not ignore. The queen spoke at last, her voice rumbling through the chamber. Human child calls you mother.
You claim bond.
Not hive law. Elena nodded gently. Yes, I care for this child. Not because of strength or position. Because it is alive. Because it needs care. The queen tilted her head and her mandibles clicked softly. Care, not rule. Not strength. Unknown. Elena looked her in the eyes. It is different, yes. But it is not weak. It is strong. Strong in a way your hive has never known. A mother protects. That protection gives children courage. That courage makes the hive stronger, not weaker. The queen's many eyes glimmered. She had never heard words like this before. Her entire existence had been built on order, obedience, and survival through strength. Yet now a human spoke of something entirely new, something that could change everything. The queen rose, her shadow falling across the chamber. She circled Elena slowly, studying her. The larva stirred, sensing tension, but did not cry. Elena held it firmly but gently. You, human, influence. Dangerous? The queen asked. Elena shook her head. No, I only show care. I do not harm the hive. I only help it survive differently. You already fight well, but strength alone is not enough. Love, protection. These can be stronger than weapons. The queen paused, her wings twitching. Around her, the generals whispered urgently, warning of danger. Some wanted Elena removed immediately, fearing the child's bond would weaken the hive, but the queen raised a claw, silencing them. Choice must be made, the queen said finally. Child belongs to hive. Or human? Elena's heart tightened. She had expected this question. It was impossible to predict what the queen would choose, yet she knew the answer had to be approached carefully. This child, Elena said softly, is not only yours or mine. It belongs to life, to love. If you allow it to be nurtured, it will grow stronger than anything your hive has seen. If you take it away, it will survive. But it may never know trust or care or courage born from love. The queen's eyes softened just slightly. She had never considered this. The idea that a single bond could change the hive, change her, was terrifying. But she also sensed truth in Elena's words. You protect child, risk self. During battle, the queen noted. You threw body between fire and child, Elena nodded. I did because it mattered. Because every life matters, not just to me but to the future. A hive survives with its young, but a young life also survives with care. That care changes everything. The queen hesitated, looking at the larva that rested quietly in Elena's arms. It blinked its small glowing eyes up at her. She had never seen innocence like this, never experienced it directly. A strange warmth stirred inside her, foreign and yet compelling. You, not weak, the queen said finally. Strength. Different. Not yet understood. Yes, Elena whispered. Strength can take many forms. Protection, love, courage, all can be strength. Even more than claws or teeth sometimes. The queen's mandibles flexed. She had to decide. One path would keep the hive as it had always been. Obedience, survival, cold order. The other path was unknown, a risk, but it carried the promise of a new future. A future where children could grow with more than instinct. Where the hive could be stronger in ways it had never known. You, choice, human, influence. Will change hive, the queen said slowly, almost to herself. Elena nodded. Change is not always easy. But some changes are necessary. The queen's eyes flickered, watching Elena and the larva. She could see the bond clearly. The larva's trust was absolute, unshakable. It had chosen Elena, not because of law or power or fear, but because of care. And that choice spoke of something the queen had never considered. That strength could come from love. Finally, the queen spoke to her generals, voice firm and unwavering. Human. We'll stay, child. We'll remain with human. The chamber fell silent. Even the guards stopped moving, stunned by the decision. Some of the generals hissed, questioning the queen's judgment, but she raised her claw, signaling they must obey. The decision was hers alone, you human. Choice accepted, the crystal translator repeated. Child, safe with you, hive, must learn. Elena held the larva closer, feeling its tiny legs wrap around her fingers. She whispered softly, It's okay. You're safe. I will keep you safe. The queen's eyes softened again, and for the first time Elena saw something truly human in them. Understanding, respect, and even a spark of admiration. The queen had made a choice that could reshape the hive forever. In the following days, the hive began to change. Workers observed Elena's care for the larva, noting how the child responded to kindness. Some soldiers paused before attacking, learning that patience and strategy could complement strength. The queen watched, silent but alert, learning from Elena as much as the hive did. The larva thrived, growing stronger each day. It called Elena mother repeatedly, and the queen began to see the impact. The bond between human and alien child had created a new form of strength, not one born from fear but from trust, care, and protection. The queen summoned Elena once more, this time in a quieter chamber. Human, you teach an unknown. Hive must follow? Elena shook her head. I do not teach. I only show. You will decide. But the future is brighter if you allow care, not just strength. The queen studied her. Future, uncertain, but child safe. Human teaches, possible. Elena nodded, feeling relief. Possible is enough. Together we can make it real. For the first time in her long life, the queen felt hope. She had seen the strength of a human, not in claws or power, but in courage, care, and the willingness to protect someone weaker than herself. That strength could not be measured, but it could change the course of an entire hive. And perhaps, Elena thought, it could change the course of the universe. The hive was quiet at first light, the green glow of crystals reflecting softly on smooth stone walls. The battle had ended, and though scars remained, life continued. Workers moved through tunnels, tending to eggs and larvae. Guards patrolled, vigilant but calmer now. And at the center, the queen sat atop her throne, wings folded, eyes alert. Elena walked carefully through the chamber, the larva nestled safely in her arms. She had seen her guidance accepted, witnessed the queen's change, and sensed a new balance forming. The hive had survived because of strength, but now strength alone would not define it. Suddenly, the hum of the hive changed. A vibration ran through the tunnels. It was not the steady rhythm of life. It was warning, a deep vibration from outside the hive. Elena's pulse quickened. She had feared this moment. The raiders had returned. The first assault had been a test. This time they came stronger, faster, and angrier. Their ships blotted out the sky, and metal beasts landed like thunder on the jungle. Fire streaked across the ground, and explosions rocked the outer tunnels. Elena's heart raced, but she did not panic. She knew the hive could survive, not just through claws, wings, or resin, but through something more. She looked up at the queen, who now moved with quiet precision, not just as a leader but as a protector. The queen's voice rumbled through the chamber, translated by the crystal. Enemies return. Fight. Hive must survive, Elena nodded. And this time we fight together. The queen's wings flexed, and the hive seemed to respond to her energy. Soldiers spread throughout the tunnels, carrying newly reinforced weapons, some crude but effective traps crafted with Elena's guidance. Workers moved quickly, reinforcing walls and narrowing passageways to funnel the raiders. When the first raider machines entered the tunnels, the hive struck with precision. Guards dropped from ceilings, crushing metal and tearing through armor. Elena's instructions guided each movement, her voice calm but commanding even though she held no weapon. One machine advanced, firing blindly, trying to clear the path. Elena pointed to a side tunnel. A group of guards followed, collapsing walls and creating a trap. The raider fell, pinned under debris, its weapons useless. The larva in Elena's arms squirmed slightly, sensing danger, but she held it close. "You are safe," she whispered. "Stay with me." The queen roared, a deep and powerful sound that echoed through the tunnels. Her massive body tore through the raider machines with precision and force, but she no longer relied on sheer strength alone. She coordinated attacks using the hive's intelligence and strategy. Elena observed closely. Every move she suggested, every plan she guided, combined with the queen's strength, made the hive unstoppable. This was more than survival. It was evolution. The battle raged, intense and long. Machines fell, their firepower destroyed by clever traps and precise attacks. Workers used their knowledge of the tunnels to flank raiders. Guards struck swiftly, guided by human. Days passed in the alien hive, yet time seemed different here. The air was warmer than Elena expected, thick with the hum of alien life. The glow of the crystals gave the chambers a soft green light that shifted with every movement. Elena had long since stopped trying to escape. She knew the queen allowed her presence, though the reasons remained unclear. The larva, small and fragile, now clung to her side wherever she went. It would crawl onto her shoulder or into her arms, repeating the word mother over and over. Elena had never felt such responsibility before, yet the instinct to protect and nurture it came naturally. The queen observed silently from her throne, her body still and massive. Her many eyes followed every movement, watching the human and the tiny creature she had claimed. At first, Elena thought the queen was merely curious, but soon she realized there was something deeper, confusion, even unease. One morning, a gathering of the hive elders approached. Their wings brushed the chamber walls and their mandibles clicked in sharp staccato rhythms. They spoke in the alien language, loud and urgent. The queen listened, and Elena tried to follow their gestures. Something serious was happening. The crystal translator repeated their words in broken human speech. Threat, human influence, dangerous. Elena frowned. Dangerous? She asked, speaking slowly. The queen's voice, deep and layered, repeated through the crystal. Human. Dangerous. To hive order. Elena understood. Some among the Valar were afraid. Her presence, her bond with the larva, was breaking the rules of the hive. In the Valar world, children belonged to the colony, not to individuals. Yet here was one of their own, calling a human mother. Elena took a deep breath. I am not dangerous, she said softly. I only care for this child. I protect it. I do not harm your hive. The queen tilted her head, mandibles twitching. It was the first sign of emotion Elena had seen in her. The queen's body language suggested conflict, something the hive had never faced before. You care human style? The queen asked, eyes narrowing. Yes, Elena replied. I care because it is a child. All young beings deserve protection, love, and guidance. She smiled gently, unsure if the queen could understand the meaning behind her words. The queen remained silent, then slowly moved closer. The larva stirred at the movement but did not cry out. Instead, it rested against Elena's chest. Human concept, unknown. Weak? The queen asked finally. Elena shook her head. Not weak, strong. Strong in ways you may not understand. We protect even when it is hard. Even when danger is near. That is what makes us human. The queen's eyes glowed brighter for a moment, then dimmed. She looked toward her council again, then back at Elena. The discussion continued, but she no longer spoke to them. Instead, her gaze stayed on the human, and Elena realized the queen was thinking deeply. Later, Elena was allowed to explore the hive under careful watch. She saw the tunnels winding endlessly, filled with workers tending to eggs and larvae. Every action seemed purposeful, almost mechanical. But as she passed, she noticed the subtle differences, the glances some of the workers gave her, the way a few larvae seemed to pause when she approached. The queen had not warned them, yet they seemed aware of the change her presence brought. Something subtle but powerful was shifting in the hive. Elena reached the nursery chamber once more. The small larva climbed into her hands and spoke again. Mother, she smiled. Yes, little one. Mother is here. The larva curled against her palm, its tiny legs trembling. Elena whispered, You are safe. I will keep you safe. From the shadows, the queen watched. She had never thought to see this. Never thought that one of her young could feel a bond outside the colony. It frightened her. What if the hive depended too much on strength alone? What if something was missing in their way of life? The queen's claws flexed slightly. A soft hum left her throat, something Elena could not understand. It was not anger, not command, but it was not kindness either, it was doubt. That night, the queen called Elena to her throne. Guards cleared the path and Elena approached cautiously, larva in arms. You, human, teach, Something new? The queen asked. Elena nodded gently. I do not teach. I only show care, but yes, perhaps the child learned something from me. The queen's wings twitched and she studied Elena. Care. Unknown, dangerous, or useful. Elena met her gaze without fear. It is strength, she said softly. Strength to love, strength to protect, strength to make choices even in hard times. Humans survive because we care, not just because we fight. The queen's mandibles clicked sharply. She considered the words. A memory seemed to stir, one she had never shared, perhaps never understood. She had seen children, yes, but never like this. Never a bond that could shape decisions and change outcomes. You... weak? She asked finally, though her eyes betrayed hesitation. No, Elena said firmly. Not weak, strong. Strong in ways you have never known. You see strength in power, in order, in force. But I show another kind, one that can change the world without a weapon. The queen leaned back, silent. Her many eyes narrowed, scanning Elena's form, the larva, and the glowing chamber. For the first time she felt uncertainty, a foreign, unsettling feeling. Elena noticed the shift. Her heart swelled, not with fear but hope. Perhaps the queen could understand, perhaps even accept, the strange bond that had formed. Days passed and Elena continued to care for the larva. She fed it, spoke to it, sang soft songs she had learned from her mother long ago. Every time the larva called her mother, the queen watched quietly, no longer just as a ruler observing a human intruder, but as a being confronting the unknown. Some of the hive workers began to mimic Elena's presence, cautiously observing her interactions with the larva. Others whispered to each other in cliques, their meaning unclear. But all of it added to the growing tension, the realization that something fundamental in their way of life was being challenged. Elena wondered if the queen would ever speak to her alone again. When the moment finally came, the queen's massive form moved without the usual ceremonial pause. She approached slowly, eyes bright. You... different, she said. Human teaches unknown. Elena smiled softly. We are different, yes. But difference is not danger. Difference can be hope. The queen remained silent for a long time. Then, with a low hum, she gestured for Elena to stay. It was the first sign of trust she had ever shown, subtle but unmistakable. Elena held the larva close, feeling warmth and responsibility. The queen watched, still unsure, still conflicted, but no longer entirely hostile. In that moment, Elena realized the truth. She had survived the crash not just by chance, but to bring something new to this hive. Something more than fear or power. A bond that could change a species if the queen chose to accept it. And for the first time, Elena felt that perhaps humans were not only survivors, they were teachers of a strength the universe had never seen before. The days in the hive passed with a strange rhythm. Elena had grown used to the warm glow of crystals, the constant hum of insect wings, and the quiet whispers of the hive workers. The larva still clung to her, calling her mother in its small broken voice. And though many in the hive still distrusted her, no one dared to move against her, not while the queen remained silent, watching with unreadable eyes. But peace never lasted long in such a vast and dangerous universe. One night, as the hive rested in deep silence, a sound shook the tunnels. It was not the usual hum of life within. It was a roar from outside, metal tearing through air, engines burning through the atmosphere. Elena felt it first as a vibration in the floor beneath her. The larva stirred in her arms, clicking nervously. The alarm calls of the hive erupted. Guards swarmed into the tunnels, their claws scraping against stone. The queen's voice thundered through the chambers, echoing with authority. Elena did not need a translator to know what it meant. The hive was under attack. She ran to the entrance chambers where the crystals glowed brighter in warning. Through the wide opening she saw ships descending from the sky, dark, jagged vessels she recognized instantly. Raiders. Her heart froze. These were the same type of raiders who had destroyed her ship, the reason she had been stranded here. They had found this planet and now they wanted more. Resources, slaves, perhaps even to burn the hive to ash. The Valar guards hissed, ready to fight, but Elena knew brute strength alone might not be enough. The raiders had firepower and machines. The hive had claws and courage, but little else. The queen's eyes turned to her, glowing like stormlight. Enemies, the crystal translator said in a hard voice. Destroy Hive. Elena swallowed, then nodded. I know them, she said quickly. They killed my people. They will kill you too, unless we fight wisely. The Queen tilted her head. Wisely? Yes, Elena said firmly. You have strength, but humans fight with more than strength. We fight with plans. With tricks. The Queen hesitated. Around her, generals clicked their mandibles, clearly disapproving. But the Queen silenced them with one sharp gesture. Speak, she ordered. Elena took a breath, then pointed toward the tunnels. Your hive is a maze. Narrow twisting paths. If you let the raiders come inside, their machines will be trapped. They cannot use their weapons well in small spaces. You can surround them. The Queen's wings shifted slightly. She was listening, Elena continued. We can also set traps. Block tunnels, collapse walls, guide them where we want. They will think they are hunting you, but you will be huntin'. The endless dark of space stretched on forever, filled with cold stars and silent dust. Among those stars, a small human research ship drifted like a wounded bird. Its hull was cracked, its lights dim, and sparks leapt from torn wires. Inside the broken vessel, alarms screamed and red warning signs flashed across every screen. The crew had been many, but now only one voice echoed faintly in the silence. Dr. Elena Hayes opened her eyes slowly. Her head throbbed and her breathing mask hissed weakly. The crash had thrown her across the deck, leaving her bruised and dazed. She pushed herself up, ignoring the pain in her ribs. Ship, she whispered, her throat dry. Status. The computer gave no answer. The main system was dead. All she could hear was the faint hum of emergency power. She looked around, her heart sinking. The command deck was torn apart. Empty seats and broken glass surrounded her. Her friends, her crew, gone. Memories rushed back. They had been on a research mission, scanning deep space for new life signs. Then the raiders came. Brutal machines had cut through their shields, tearing the ship apart. Elena remembered the explosion, the heat, and then blackness. Somehow she was alive, alone. She staggered toward the viewport. The stars outside spun slowly as the ship drifted toward the pull of a planet below. It was a world covered in green mist with mountains like teeth rising above clouds. She felt the ship's frame groan as it entered the atmosphere. Elena grabbed the control panel, forcing her hands to steady. If this is the end, she muttered, I won't go down without trying. She managed to guide the ship into a rough descent, but the engines failed completely. Fire streaked past the windows as the vessel fell faster and faster. The crash was brutal. Metal screamed, glass shattered, and Elena was thrown against her seat. Then silence. When she woke again, she was no longer on her ship. The air was heavy, warm, and smelled strange, like earth mixed with metal. She blinked, confused. She was lying on smooth stone, not broken steel. The ceiling above her was high, shaped like an arch, glowing faintly with green crystals. Shadows moved around her. Elena sat up quickly, her heart racing. She was not alone. Surrounding her were tall creatures unlike anything she had ever studied. Their bodies were armored in dark plates shining under the crystal light. Long limbs ended in sharp claws, but they held them still like guards. Their eyes were many, glowing pale blue, and they clicked their mandibles softly as they studied her. She realized they were not machines. They were alive, alien. At the center of the chamber, raised upon a throne of stone and crystal, sat a figure larger than the rest. Her body was massive, with wings folded close and a crown-like crest upon her head. The way she sat, still yet powerful, told Elena everything. This was their leader. Their queen. Elena's breath caught. She had dreamed of meeting alien life, but not like this. Not so soon, not alone. She forced herself not to tremble. One of the guards stepped forward, its voice a mix of clicks and strange tones. Elena could not understand the words, but the sound carried authority. It gestured toward her, then to the queen. The queen leaned forward slowly, her many eyes fixed on the human. Silence stretched, heavy and sharp. Elena felt small under that gaze, as if the queen could see through her very soul. Finally, the queen spoke. Her voice was deep and layered, echoing across the chamber. Elena could not understand the language, yet the tone felt commanding, questioning. Elena swallowed. She knew fear would get her nowhere. If this was her first contact, she had to show respect. She touched her chest lightly and said, Elena, human. She pointed to herself, then lowered her head slightly in a gesture of peace. The aliens hissed among themselves. The queen tilted her head, watching closely. Elena continued, her voice steady, though her heart raced. "I come in peace, no harm." She raised her hands, open and empty. The queen said nothing, but the guards stepped back slightly. The atmosphere shifted. They were not attacking her. Not yet. Elena took a slow breath. She had survived the crash, but now her fate rested in the hands or claws of this alien queen. Her eyes flicked to the side, and she noticed something strange. Behind the queen, in a small chamber half hidden by crystal walls, lay clusters of eggs glowing faintly. Tiny shapes moved inside, curling and stretching. The hive's young. For a moment, Elena felt something stir inside her chest. These creatures might be terrifying, but they had children. They were alive, just like humans, struggling to continue their existence. The queen must have seen her glance. Her voice thundered again, sharp and protective, making the guards click their claws. Elena quickly lowered her head again, showing she meant no disrespect. The tension eased, but only slightly. Elena's mind raced. She was alone, without food, without tools, without her crew. But she was not dead. These beings had brought her here. Why, curiosity, mercy, or some other purpose? She looked up once more at the queen, meeting her glowing eyes. The queen did not blink. In that long silence, Elena understood something. She was being judged. Her every word, her every movement would decide if she lived or died. And for the first time since the crash, she whispered to herself, "This is not the end. This is the beginning." The chamber was silent after Elena's whisper. She sat on the stone floor, breathing carefully, surrounded by creatures that could end her life with one strike. Yet no attack came. The guards kept their distance, their eyes sharp but curious. The queen watched her without moving, wings twitching slightly in the green light. Elena's mind raced. She had studied alien life from afar, but she had never expected to stand in front of a living queen of another species. This was a first contact, something humanity had only dreamed of. Fear clawed at her, but something deeper stirred too. The hunger to understand. The queen spoke again in that layered, rumbling language. The sounds echoed against the walls, clicking and rolling like thunder mixed with stone breaking. Elena shook her head gently. "I don't understand," she admitted softly. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then one of the guards stepped forward. It touched a glowing crystal embedded in the wall. The crystal pulsed, and suddenly a faint hum filled the air. The guard spoke, and the crystal repeated the sound in a clearer, softer tone. It was not human speech, but it seemed like some kind of translation tool. The queen spoke again, this time slower. The crystal pulsed and gave out a voice that Elena could understand, though it was broken and strange. "You are human?" Elena's heart skipped. The translation was rough, but it was something. She nodded quickly. "Yes, human. My name is Elena." The queen leaned forward. Her many eyes glowed brighter, as if searching for truth in the small figure before her. Human, alone. The words came out hard and flat, but the meaning was clear. "Yes," Elena whispered. Her voice cracked, but she forced strength into it. "I am alone." The aliens clicked among themselves. The queen remained silent, her gaze steady. Finally, she lifted one clawed hand and gestured. Two guards moved to Elena's side, not to harm her, but to guide her. Elena hesitated, then allowed herself to be led. They brought her to the edge of the chamber where the crystal walls glowed softly. Through them, she saw something that made her heart tighten. Inside the chamber, dozens of small larvae shifted and stretched within glowing sacs. Their tiny bodies glimmered faintly like fragile stars. Elena felt her chest grow warm. She was a scientist, yes, but also a human with a heart that recognized life in all forms. She whispered without thinking, "Children." The queen turned her head sharply. The word echoed in the chamber, translated by the crystal. "Children," the queen repeated, as if tasting the meaning. Elena nodded gently. She pointed at the larvae and then at her chest. "Children? Babies? Young?" For the first time, the queen tilted her head, not in command, but in something closer to curiosity. The guards seemed restless, but the queen silenced them with a low rumble. Suddenly, movement stirred in the nursery chamber. One of the larvae had crawled free from its sac, small and fragile. It squirmed across the stone, drawn by something unseen. The guards moved to block it, but the queen raised her hand and stopped them. The larva wobbled forward, its small body glowing faintly. It reached the edge of the crystal barrier and pressed against it, tiny eyes fixed on Elena. To her shock, the crystal wall opened like water. allowing the creature through. Elena froze. The small being crawled closer and stopped in front of her. Its many legs trembled, yet its movements were steady, purposeful. Very slowly, Elena bent down. She extended her hand, open and gentle. The larva hesitated, then crawled into her palm. Its body was warm, softer than she expected. She held it carefully, like holding a human infant. The tiny creature looked up at her with glowing eyes. And then, something impossible happened. The larva spoke. Its voice was high and thin, but the crystal beside them repeated the sound in human words. Mother. The word echoed in the chamber like thunder. Every alien froze. The guards hissed in shock, mandibles clicking wildly. The queen stiffened, her wings trembling. The chamber seemed to shiver with the weight of the word. Elena's eyes widened. Her throat went dry. She had not expected this. She had not taught it. Yet the word had come, clear and true. The larva clung to her fingers, repeating the word again. Mother. The queen rose from her throne with a sound that shook the walls. Her massive form loomed over Elena, her many eyes burning with confusion and something deeper. How? The crystal translated, though the